30 minutes of power.
Welcome to 30 Minutes of Power, a podcast dedicated to educate, encourage, and inspire godly people to use their power to empower others. Join your hosts, Jory O'Neill and Nicole Salter, as they share powerful insights on how you can use your God-given talents and gifts to make a positive impact in the world.
Having a wonderful conversation over here on 30 Minutes of Power with our friend Aisha Oliver. She has shared a good amount of information, but we're only at the tip, people. This is where you go to the little pivot. You play basketball, this is where you're about to pivot. So she shared a little bit about her background, her growing up, some of the things that she experienced, and how those things have helped her connect to the young people which she serves now. She just shared about her book. I used to know her. Super excited. Please, I'm gonna put the link in the chat where you could get it on Amazon. Nicole's gonna help with that because she's really good with the fingers and stuff with the chat situation. But we started this initial conversation because of a post, and that post it triggered you, right? And so you're in a space now where you're not afraid to confront people and confront things when you feel that they are unjust. Is that a fair assessment? Is that pretty accurate?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you have not been an individual who, once you realize that these are things that you feel that God has called you to do, that you sit and you scratch your head and you're like, how do I, where do I? You actually wrote a book, right? Started an organization, Roots of Fruit. So please tell us about that, because I'm excited to hear about how people who are listening right now, who are watching on Facebook, can get involved and support your work.
Oh, I love it. So I'm in Chicago. I'm on the west side of Chicago at that. And Roots of Fruit it's structured as an organization, as a 501c3, a nonprofit. I like to tell people it's structured that way on paper. But in reality, that is not how we operate. This is very much a community-based organization, but it is a village building initiative. And we call it a village building initiative because the purpose behind this is to build a family within this community that not only supports our young people, but it's like an anchor for them also. And it was really born out of our local park district, Austin Town Hall, which is where I used to work. And when you work in park district or spaces like that, you have constant access to children, to young people. And if you are connected to those young people, there's a way for you to be connected to their families. So I worked for the park for 7 years, and the park is around the corner from where I live. So I saw these kids every day, sometimes 6 times a week, because sometimes I would work on Saturdays too. And it was just, I found myself being happy or at my happiest when I was around those kids. And I couldn't put my finger on it, couldn't figure out why my schedule was 4 to 7 or 3 to 7, and I wouldn't leave the park till 9 o'clock. You know what I mean? Like, there was something about having those kids around me that it did something to my life, to my spirit, to my mental health, to my emotional health. Like, a child wanting to be around you speaks volumes. You know what I mean? Like, and it was every day. So I remember the day our big boss popped up at the park, and he came downstairs and he saw all those kids in their room, and I was in there with them kids by myself. He was like, "Come on, let me talk to you." Went in the hallway and he was like, "What's this?" And I was like, "Oh, I started a teen club." And he like, "A teen club?" I'm like, "Yeah." He like, "So all of these kids, how many times do they come a week?" I'm like, "We every day." And he like, "Technically, you ain't supposed to have this many kids." And I was like, "Oh, well, they didn't tell me. We got a room, got tables and chairs. They want to come." And man, them kids came every day, like every day. I didn't put out a flyer. None of it. Like, it was word of mouth. And to me, that's when I learned, like, if you can really tap in with a kid around you, with a young person around you, and they go tell one of their friends about you, and that friend tell another friend, you own to something. And I could feel it. I was like, man, I'm on to something. Like, now I got I got the basketball team. Now I got a dance team to support the basketball team. Now we in competitions. Like, we doing the Bud Billiken parade. Now, you know, these kids are activists, and they right. I just looked at pictures where I was taking those kids to protest and everything. Like, they truly have parts of me embedded in them. And the first young man that I met, he just turned 29. He's 29 years old with a 5-year-old of his own. That is technically, that's my granddaughter. So it's like, that's that village building mentality, because none of the kids that I've ever met through Roots of Fruit, man, everybody had a hard life. And that's why the family concept was so important, because it wasn't about the paycheck. It wasn't like they was paying me buku money. Like, I'm the low man on the totem pole. But what I got from it made me wealthy in other ways. You know, what I got from being around those kids made me wealthy in other ways. So I like being able to walk through my neighborhood and all the shorties know who I am. They speak, you know what I mean? They have a level of respect, because they know I didn't just show up. I ain't pop up here and there. You know, I didn't do the one-offs. Like, I'm consistent. This is 19 years for me. 19 years of just in my own neighborhood, like walking distance. They could point me out. You know what I mean? Some of them call me OG, some of them call me Miss Pooh, but they know who I am. They know I've been neutral and honest with everybody. Now in West Side Chicago, especially in the Austin neighborhood, it ain't easy. Like, you know what I mean? I'm very much aware of where I am, where I live, and what's going on around me. Which in some ways it drives me even more. Because I done lost a lot of kids too, that I felt like, man, if they just had an opportunity to see something outside of where we live, they could have made it. But you know what I mean? That's why I tell them, even now when we talk, I be like, man, be mindful of your words, bro. Like, y'all keep calling it a trap. That's exactly what it is. You like to use that word trap, but that's exactly what it is, bro. Like, we done lost a lot of our own just because they couldn't see outside or of this radius right here. So Root to Fruit is an organization, but to me, it's a way of life, and it's my way of leaving my legacy in this community, leaving a legacy that when I step down, I know one of these kids is gonna step up. Like, I'm training my replacement right now. So it wasn't really about me just creating something that looks good. It's like, all right, what can we do that's going for generations? Like, no matter who come through here, it's gonna live here. My name gonna live here. The work gonna live here, and it's gonna be passed down to each generation. So yeah, I'm building my family and my neighborhood. That's what Root to Fruit is.
I love that. And so, word on the street is you was running for alderwoman.
Yes.
them some political shoes. Come on, talk to me about that one.
Yes. So I ran for alderman of the 29th ward here on the west side of Chicago. So Austin is one of 77 communities that make up the city of Chicago. It's the second largest community in the city. And I have always had aspirations of, as far as politics, running for alderman, because that allows you to have a certain voice and stake in the community that you live in and that you serve, right? So I always wanted to figure out how I can do more within this neighborhood. And I was ready for it. I made my announcement. I had my shorties ready. Y'all getting signatures for me. Like, it was definitely something that my heart was set on. My grandfather had been telling me since I was 16 that I was going to be an alderman. Like, he was the one that planted the seed, to be completely honest. My grandfather drove garbage trucks on the west side, and he used to help get signatures for other aldermen when I was little. And I remember, like, he took me to a couple things where he had me like getting signatures with him. So that seed was planted, and he would always tell me that I had a heart for the people. Like, you the one, you got the heart for the people. So you got to be an alderman, because the aldermen fight for the people. So I always wanted to do that. I announced my run. My grandfather is deceased. I announced my run on his birthday, just to show honor. And in the midst of it, I had to be really honest about where I was in life. So I lost one of my boys to gun violence that September, like 2 weeks after I announced my run. And I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I was as excited as I was. That stole something from me. You know what I mean? Like, I was with them all day, and I go in the house, and one of them was like, "Man, put your phone on D&D, OG. Like, we've been out all day. Like, we did a brunch. We had 100 young men get together, men and young men, Black men and young men get together, and I gave them a brunch, and it was so beautiful, and they were so excited about what we did, and how many men and young men showed up, that they were hanging out, like, literally behind the house, like a block over. And I was in his sleep. I was so tired, and something told me when I came in the house, like, take your phone off D&D. And I did. And I got up in the middle of the night, go to the bathroom. I walked to the bathroom. I opened the window to let some air in, and I hit the shots. And I was like, I'm saying to myself, like, man, that sounds close. And came back from the bathroom, and my phone was ringing. Immediately, my heart was like, it's one of yours. It's one of yours. And I saw that one of the boys was calling me. I answered that phone, and the screams that came through that phone it just took something from me. And they were screaming for me to come over there. I didn't say anything to anybody. I threw some gym shoes on, ran out the house, ran around the corner. I literally made it there before the police. I made it around there before the police. So to see, I tell people all the time, like, that whole scene felt like a movie. Like, I was outside of my body watching this whole thing happen, and watching two of my young men trying to apply pressure. So they were like on the ground, and then you had one that was kind of trying to keep the crowd controlled. And as soon as I hit the corner, you see these, and all of these boys, they 19, 20, 21, you see these young men running they ran and jumped in my arms. Everybody just held on. Like, to see young men that age and that stature, they just wanted to be held. They just wanted to be held. Like, and I don't think I actually had a moment, because everything was around me trying to just be there for them. So, I mean, I remember we sat at the hospital till like 6 something in the morning. At the time, because of COVID, they wouldn't let nobody in. So we had to just sit outside. And they came out around like 6:15, 6:20 and told us, that they had tried to save him and he couldn't make it. And like, the wails of those boys, man, like, it just resonated to the point where I was like, I just did a live and told people that I decided to do something else. But in all honesty, my heart was broken. Like, I couldn't get in front of people shaking hands, kissing babies and smiling. And my heart was broken. Like, I couldn't do it. And I had to, I just stepped out. To me, it was more important for me to be present for them than to run that race. It was much more important, because I could see that night, I could see some of those boys thinking about what they was gonna do. And if I didn't step in then, I'd have lost another one. And I wasn't willing to do that. So I politely said, I'll get behind another candidate, but it's more important for me to be here for them right now. Because if we don't, somebody will try to take this into their hands, and then I'll lose another one. And their race wasn't nearly as important to me as being there for them was. So I just gracefully bowed out and supported another candidate, and got busy with helping them boys heal, helping his mother through the process and just being who I said I was gonna be and walking in what I said I was gonna walk in, which was I carry something different. I gotta be something different out here. So I love it. I would, maybe in the future try it again, but that present time it was just like, nah, that ain't more important than them. So I just stepped into that rightfully.
So much. It's so much to take in right now. Like, I didn't know we was going here. Like, I thought we was going to be talking about this other thing over here. And now here he is over here. I'm getting all emotional and feeling. But this is good because I'm going to tell you why this is good. I always find that there are folks who say good stuff. There are folks who think good stuff. But very seldom do I meet a human who think, say, and do the things that they initially said that they was gonna do. Like that type of consistency, that type of follow through, like that is servant leadership. Like that is what that is, right? And listen, I'm so sorry for your loss. And I'm sorry for Austin's loss, right? Of you not being in that seat. If that's like all I can think of right now is Jesus. Like I'm be honest with you, like the vision that I see is the way that Jesus desired for us to love on the sheep, right? Like you are being like the best shepherd possible, right? Like you are guiding, you are nurturing, you are caring for, like that is what it means to be a shepherd, right? And regardless of how you feel about church, whatever, blah, 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 like at the end of the day, God created you to be a shepherd to these kids. Like, I don't care what title or box you want to check off, but that's your heart. Your heart is the shepherd. And I'm excited to hear about, you have this new initiative now where you got this pushing peace. I wanna know about that, because if every time you tell me I'm doing this and then you tell me like this is why over here, like I'm fighting for the mental health and the innocence. Like you're fighting for the innocence of young people. You are not allowing inappropriate, hurtful adults to steal the innocence from young people with their actions and or their words. And so hearing your backstory as to why you're doing that, and now hearing this, I'm just like, yo, I want to know about pushing peace, sis. Like what's good? Like
yeah. Pushing peace is the we call it a prelude to our summer activation. So the way we set up taking back like safety in our neighborhood. So it's been, I think 3 years now, 2023. So we started, and these guys, you can see them behind me, they my screensaver. So what we decided to do was, this was before Clarence's passed, and this was part of why we was actually celebrating. So we started ASAP, and ASAP is the Austin Safety Action Plan. And the Austin Safety Action Plan is basically, we came up with a strategy or a blueprint of how we as a collective, being me and the kids, how we saw safety. So ASAP was born literally in the living room. This was before the pandemic. This was like 2019. So, not to be a damper or, what I'm saying, to use any trauma porn, but like everything that we're doing, it's an answer. What we're doing is an answer. It's our way of saying, okay, this is what's happening. How do we combat what we're seeing in our community? Because I teach these kids, man, ain't nobody coming in on no white horse to save us. That's just the reality. You know what I mean? I'm for Black people 110%. You know what I mean? I have no qualms with anybody else, but I got to be for mine first, right? And I got to make sure that mine are aware, that they are educated, and that they are activated. And that's part of my purpose here. So when we did ASAP, it was in response to a 3-year-old getting killed in our neighborhood.
Mercy.
And it was like right up the street, and people got together, adults got together. It was cameras everywhere. Folks held hands and sang songs and all of those things. And I was just like, I remember standing out there, and I was like, man, if this all they gonna do, I'm about to be livid. I'm like, if it ain't no follow-up with this, I'm gonna turn up. And there was no follow-up. It was like the same old thing, you know what I mean? So I started like stepping on people's toes. That was really what kind of put a battery in my back, is that I kept telling people as adults, if we don't have an answer for a 3-year-old's life being taken, do you know how many more people that'll come through here and snatch their life because we ain't did nothing to combat what we seeing? Everybody just holding their hands and singing, and prayers is cool, but what happens after that, bro? Like, what is the next step? So one of the things that I realized was nobody had asked the kids in the neighborhood how that made them feel. Like, did anybody ask these kids what hearing about a 3-year-old get killed, how did that make them feel? So I sent out a text message. I got everybody's phone number. We got a group chat, because you got to know how to communicate with kids. You know what I mean? You got to know the generation. So we got a big old group chat. I put in a group chat like, hey, come to the house on Thursday. I'm cooking. Everybody come slide over here. We gonna sit down and just, eat and chop it up. So they did. I had 12 boys show up that night. 12 guys all showed up that night. And I cooked a bunch of food, and we were sitting down and we was talking. One of the guys was turning, I think, 19 that night. So I bought him a cake. We chopped it up, and I asked them 2 questions. I said, I'm gonna be completely honest with y'all. I'm not feeling the way the neighborhood responded to this little boy being killed, man. And I just want to know how it made y'all feel. And we just started a conversation from there. And then I asked them, what did they need to feel safe, and what did they need to feel supported? And everything that they were saying, I was like writing down. And then we started doing these conversations like every week, every other week. So we started calling them breaking breads. So we do a breaking bread. We still do it. And it's just, me cooking or ordering some food, and they know to come over. And in these conversations, like, it's more about me listening than me talking. Right. So like, I think people got away from that part. So we did this for months, like Thursdays, boom, we here, we having this conversation. And as I noticed how much I was writing down stuff and taking notes, so I put what they said, a lot of what they said, and a lot of things that made them feel safe, spaces that they resonated with, that they pinpointed. It was just like, man, I remember when I was going here, I did this, and that. Or we used to go to the library, we used to do this, and that. So I put it in like a PowerPoint for them. I just put like a presentation together for them. And I basically said, this is what you all said, this is your ideas. I just put it into a presentation for you. And we named it. We named it ASAP, Austin Safety Action Plan. And we figured out, like, okay, in the summertime, because we know in the neighborhoods, well, in Chicago in general, in the summertime, it's active. Everybody outside, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot going on. So we created a safe zone in this neighborhood, so 1 mile safe zone. And that 1 mile safe zone encompasses all of the spaces that they said meant something to them as a kid. Something about these spaces resonated with them and made them feel, it made them remember their childhood. It made them remember certain things about their childhood. So we created a 1 mile safe zone encompassing all of those spaces. We also agreed that in those spaces, we would do the activation of places that people had just kind of started hanging out, idle behavior, drinking, smoking, adults and took over the spaces that's supposed to be for kids. And that's what we did. We started holding outdoor tournaments, back to school events. We do everything in our safe zone. Now we work in the garden, and the garden is behind the senior home. So we work with Miss Maria, who's one of the seniors in the neighborhood. She teaches the boys how to plant. We clean the garden beds and things like that for the seniors. So it's intergenerational, because I do believe that they need to know people outside of me, and they need to be educated and have connections with people outside of me. So they need to know their elders. So when you see them, you speak to them, and y'all just stop walking past each other like y'all don't know, you know what I mean? We live in the same neighborhood. So last year we turned it up a notch. We had a live concert. I booked a band. The singers came out, brought their chairs. Now they're doing a tournament. Now we're doing soft play for the tots. It's now we're doing all of these different things. And what became of it is people start to realize that people who had budgets, mind you, Root to Fruit just started. We just got our first grant last summer. I've been doing this all this time off of my day job, putting it back into my shorties. That's how much I love what I do. But a police officer pulled up on us, and he wasn't even from my district. He wasn't from my area. He heard about us and came over here, and he was just like watching. And I was thinking, I was like, man, I ain't never seen him before, but he'd been over here for like an hour. And this man sent me an email at the end of the summer, and the tags that said like numbers don't lie. And I opened the email. He pulled the data from the Chicago Police Department, and he was like, "Look how much you decrease in violence in that neighborhood with that safe zone." He was like, "You need to start showing people this." And I sent it to the boys. I was like, "Yo, we got to meet ASAP. Like this crazy. Like I mean, it's a big decline." We did notice that around like the time the kids go back to school, it started to peak a little bit more. But when you're talking to kids, you understand they were saying the reason it's starting to go up again is because a lot of those kids who had beef over the summer, a lot of those kids go to school together. So now they crossing paths again. So we started to see a peak. So that's how Pushing Peace was born. We usually do ASAP June to like September. But we wanted to do something where we could get in front of these young people before June. You know what I mean? Before the summer hit, before it get hot. So from March until June, we go to the schools. We take the Pushing Peace tour to the schools. We take a DJ. We take community partners. It's like a pep rally. The guys run the entire thing. They the host. They the hype man. They got these contests. We have all of these community partners who have other initiatives that these young people can be a part of. People who have employment that's available for them that they can sign up for, internships, things like that. We take it to the schools, and I let the guys pick the schools that we go to, and they pick the schools that had low enrollment or a lot of kids who had dropped out. So they pinpointed schools that was like, they need this right now. Like, let's show up for them. And we get an opportunity to get in front of them and talk about the safe zone, talk about what they are doing as young people to not just safeguard or create safety in their neighborhood, but like, man, you can still be cool and you don't have to be chasing clout. You know what I mean? Like you could still be that guy and be doing something good, you know what I mean, in your neighborhood. So that's our way of, before the summer hits, we've been in the grammar schools, we've been in the high schools. Our last tour date is June 14th, and then we do a Pushing Peace party June 15th in the safe zone. Everybody is welcome. Everybody is welcome. And then that's just our way of like kicking off our summer activation. So it's like continuous. Each year we figure out a way that we can grow this, and we can make sure that we are sending the message of protecting our hood. So the back of our hoodies and t-shirts that we wear, it say protect our hood. And we wear them everywhere. So these young people have had conversations with the mayor, the senator, the hospitals, like, and I go with them. But when I say I'm training my replacement, I'm training my replacement. It's not for me to get in front of people and talk about what it is that we're doing. They know this like the back of their hand. So this is their opportunity. And this is also my opportunity to amplify the voices of these young people. So that's what I'm doing. Like any opportunity I get to put them in front of people and let them do their thing, do your thing. I'm here. I'm supporting you, but I don't need to be in front of the camera. I don't need to talk. I don't need to do any of that. They are very well equipped to do just that. I don't want to just talk to them about leadership. I want to create spaces where they can practice leadership, where they can practice. Because I told them, man, y'all got a good 4-5 years left with me. And then somebody better be thinking about who's going to take this fight. That's just it. They already know it. Somebody needs to be thinking about who's going to take Miss Pooh's spot, because I have to do that. I have to be able to go out and do other things so that I can start to feed funding and things like that into these young people. Like it wasn't meant for me to eat off of it. It was meant for me to create something for them to eat off of. You know what I mean? So somebody out there, I'll be able to create salaries, you know what I mean, from the work, the leg work that I did. So it's just being unselfish and realizing that a lot of the work that we need to put in right now is truly for the next generation. Like, so when I say I'm wealthy in other ways, I'm wealthy in ways where like I can walk away from this and say, I'm gonna create a generation of thinkers, seekers, and doers. And that's gonna be my legacy. Like, yeah, she did that. She stood on business. She did that. I'm wealthy in other ways. So that's Root to Fruit. That's Austin Safety Action Plan. That's Pushing Peace. That's who Miss Pooh is.
Wow. I'm just like, wow. Like, wow. So when you're talking, right? I'm like, I'm not going to interrupt her. Not one bit. And all these thoughts, like I have all these notes, like all these are just like, all these notes are coming up because do you like, so 3 questions. 1, before that police officer gave you that data, had you any idea of the impact that you were making?
No, not like that. Like I knew I was tapped in with, you know, the shorties in the neighborhood, but to that extent, I didn't know. And like somebody had told me before, like you're gonna need data moving forward to like get funding and stuff. But you know, it's me and a bunch of kids. Like where am I gonna get data from? You know what I mean? I don't even have time to. Barely had time to reply to emails half the time. So like I had no clue. But man, what I will say is, man, shout out to the Black men in this neighborhood that's been stepping up for me, for real. Like it's not said enough. Black men have been stepping up in amazing ways because they see what I'm doing. And one thing I also want to make very clear is that I'm not saying women can't do certain things, but I know my role as a woman. I can't teach and I have more young boys, young men than I have young women. I think that's just the phase of life I'm in right now, where the young men have truly gravitated to me because they need a nurturer. And I offer that, but I offer a lot of discipline too, because I ain't gonna let you slide and I'm not gonna let you be lazy. I'm not gonna, you know, coddle you. But because I'm a woman, I understand that there's only so much that I can teach them as young men. So I don't have a problem with reaching out to the men around me and saying, hey, this is what's going on. Can you come by? Can you talk to the guys? Or can we come over to where y'all at and you talk to the guys? So I definitely want to, man, it's not a solo act at all. It's a lot of dope Black men, Black and brown men. Because shout out to my Hispanic homies too, that's been showing up and showing crazy love and supporting the efforts. Really, the men have really like, they see it, and I see the genuine love of them wanting to be something for young men. And maybe I just created the space for them to do that. But the past 2 years, like, yeah, Black and Hispanic men definitely been showing up for me. Got to show them love. Got to make sure they honored for that. Definitely.
That's what's up. So second question, where's your data coming from in terms of like the schools that you are particularly pinpointing, in terms of like how you knowing about the low enrollment, how are you knowing about the dropout rates? That's just like general, like Chicago, like I go, and then like it'll show me a list.
Yeah, CPS released some numbers earlier in the year of how enrollment, especially in like Chicago public schools, and then in Black and brown areas, more so in Black areas, the enrollment is just dwindling. And because I'm a volunteer for CPS, so I'm cleared through CPS to volunteer in the schools. So when I'm in the schools, you can see the difference. Like there's, I think 7 of the guys that I have, they all graduated from high school together. And when they were in high school, their school had a good amount of students. We were there last week, 2 weeks ago, they got 128 students. in the whole school, 128 students. One of the school has literally 60 kids. One of the schools on our list has 60 kids. So the guys were looking at like the report that CPS put out basically, and because they have relationships with the schools, or, you know, oh, we played against them, or a bunch of our homies go here, whatever. They were like, we're gonna go here, 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 and here. Like they picked the elementary schools and they picked the high schools, and we put the tour list together like that. But they were literally just saying, let's go to the schools that don't get love and go and show them some love. We're gonna take it to them. And so that's how Pushing Peace really that's how it was birthed.
Third question. It's not gonna be my last one. It's third question for right now. I'm gonna leave it for right now. Humans that are listening and are watching this in Facebook land. Okay, listen. I know you are like as in just captivated. I don't need you to be so captivated that you go ahead and you leave listening to this or watching this. I need you to go ahead. Do. How can they support what you're doing? How can they support the initiative? How can they support Pushing Peace? Like, where can they send a box of just like, I don't know, like Rice Krispie treats for like the kids when y'all go like pull up at the next tour date? Like, how can they get involved? Like, how can they support what you're doing? Because what you're doing, my brain hurts thinking about how you were funding this from your job, because you got like 1, 2, 3, 4. You got some kids.
Of my own.
Yes, like birds.
Yes, ma'am. And I work 9 to 5. I work for Lurie Children's Hospital during the day. So yeah, it was just, for whatever reason, I tell people I was building a plane and flying it at the same time. So it was, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand, but I knew there was a particular mission that I was meant for. And it just happened to be sewing into these kids and being something for them in my neighborhood specifically, because I can't save all the kids everywhere. Chicago is Chicago. But I mean, why not try to impact the kids that are directly around you, that you know you're gonna see, that you know you can walk out your house and they might be walking down the street. Like, I just focus on that. So
because I'm a little number geek. All right. So statistically, after the age of 7 years old, you as a parent, your influence on your kid drops to 50%. By the time they are 16, you only have a 7% influence over your child. As I'm sure you've noticed, right? Raising your own kids, right? So what you're doing is probably the best move any parent can do, because it's the homies outside of your house that are going to impact and influence your kid the most during the formative years of 8 to 16.
Yep. Absolutely.
And so if you tapped into them, hey,
that's a key. That's a key. Another key is I get them early. The guys that are with me right now, the last 4 just turned 21, but I started mentoring them when they were 9. They were in 3rd grade. So the longevity helps too.
I'm hearing this theme, and I'm patterns, right? Like you shared about how when you were 8 and 9, and how when you started developing, how people's words and actions negatively influenced you. So I don't find it ironic that around 8 and 9, you're like, nah, I got you. Come here. Nah, I got you. Come here. Right? Like, you are literally being the thing for these young people that you needed for yourself. Like,
yep.
That's just dope. So you still ain't tell us how we can support. You need some money. You need some Rice Krispie treats, but you need to pull up on the 15th. On the 15th, we're just gonna pull up. Just come kick it like a football.
We need it all. Root to Fruit. You can go to roottofruit.org. That's our website. Root to Fruit Youth Foundation. Root, ROOT, the number 2, Fruit, fruit.org. Our Facebook page is Root to Fruit Youth Foundation. Our Instagram is root2fruit.youth. All of those spaces, like, we're really active, and just, making sure that people know what it is that we're doing, what initiatives we have in space right now. So yes, sending funding always helps. Now that part always helps because I don't apply for a lot of grants, because a lot of grants come with a lot of restrictions. And that's just not how we operate. You know what I mean? I might have a kid that needs to move. All right, I got to help them move. I might have a parent who need a light bill paid. You know what I mean? I need to help a parent. Like, it's not about the program. We don't even use the word program in Root to Fruit. We don't use the word program because just thinking of the connotations associated with programming. So I'm very big on teaching them how to use their words. As we all know, life and death is in the power of the tongue. So being thoughtful of the words that we use when we are talking about our community, ourselves, our initiatives, what it is that we want to do, what legacy we want to live, what are our 5-year plans. Like, we are very thoughtful about what those next steps look like. So that comes with having the freedom to be able to use money how we need to use money. Having our events in the summer, people like to donate, and I since we are here, there are churches that support us. There are absolutely churches that support us. St. Martin's Church, Lively Stone. I mean, my mother and her church. There are spaces that they understand that, like, even though I'm not a member of anybody's church, they understand what I'm walking in. They understand what I'm doing. They see the value in it. They show up. They offer their space. We use the church for meetings. We use the church for community breakfast. We use the church for summer programs. Like, we there. We there. So even donations of like food and things, because we love to put together snack bags and especially like when it starts to get cold, we do a lot around homelessness. I just feel like that's also a way for us to give back and so back and see people as human. So going to the shelters or going under the viaducts in our own neighborhoods and just giving to people that we know we're gonna walk past and we're gonna see. It's simple things. I think people get like this, they get these big pictures, and when you start getting those big pictures, you get it's mission drift, right? So when you start thinking and you want these grand things, it's like, that's cool. I get it. I see it. But what about the one that you're gonna walk past when you gotta go to the train? Like, it's somebody homeless right here, but you gotta go to the train. Somebody homeless right here when your kids gotta walk through the viaduct to go to school. Start with them. You know what I mean? I think that's why I've been more impactful in my work, is because I'm not trying to create something so big that it takes me away from the people. My priority is the people, pouring into the people, and making sure that like what I'm giving is something that it touches them in a way that makes them want to give to somebody else. So I don't have a building. We don't have a building. We don't have a space. We use the house. We use the park. We use whatever people gonna give us, you know what I mean, to let us use the space. I don't want a building, to be completely honest. Like, I don't want anything that's gonna take me. Somebody asked me the other day, so how can we scale this? You know what I mean? And I was like, see, when you start talking like that, you talking business. I'm like, yeah, that's not what we here for. You know what I mean? Y'all see dollar signs. That's not what we here for. I want to make sure my guys eat, for sure. You know what I mean? I definitely do. But when you start thinking like that, now you're trying to figure out a way where it looks good, but are you being impactful? That's what we're going to differ. Because if you start talking where you take me away from the people, I got to cut you. I'm gonna cut you off. Like, I'm learning, do not forget where I'm from. I'm really blunt. So I'm really careful about who I partner with and who I bring around these kids, because they're taking me years to build these relationships. And I ain't let nobody come in and mess up what it has taken me years to build with these kids and their families. So if I feel like you're not right, if what you say you do don't align with what I see you do, we have no dealings whatsoever. Because all it takes is one person to come in and mess up what it's taking me 19 years to build over here. And I ain't willing to risk that for nobody. So anything that can help, whether it be donations or food or money, whatever it is, it has to go back into these kids and their families. You know what I mean? We building something. The sustainability is being able to connect, right? If I can connect with you and you rock it with me like that, then I got a foot in the door. So that's the type of legacy we build in here on the people. So we are more focused on building people than building buildings. So come outside with us, take over a corner with us, you know what I mean? Go on the bite off with us, go to the schools with us, do that, and we good. But I don't need a building. I'm cool. I don't need a building. We outside.
Thank you for tuning in to 30 Minutes of Power. We hope you found today's episode informative and inspiring. To stay connected with us and continue the conversation, follow us on Instagram at 30 Minutes of Power or email us at azironsharpensiron@gmail.com. Don't forget to visit our website at azisi.org to learn more about our mission and how you can get involved. Remember, your power can make a difference in the world. Let's be folks out there using our power to empower others.
30 minutes of power.